Locker Room Sports Extra. We'd like to thank you for coming by and hanging out with me today. I'm your host, Big Matt, and we're going to go through some college football semifinals. And we got the teams lined up. You can see it over here to my right. Why not have such a frown look on my face? I guess I don't know. I'm just not. I'm not sure if all these people, if they kind of feel like, hang on just a second, let me check sound. Okay, I'm using OBS again. I ain't used it in 2 years. Hang on, please. I'm sorry. Okay, everything's working. Everything looks good. Sounds good. All right, welcome back here. OBS Studios, StreamYard's acting weird. I don't know what it is, so I had to go back to my old take. So, college football semifinals. What are y'all thinking? Well, we're going to talk about these games here, and I've watched both these teams play, and I think there's a huge misunderstanding. I really do. I think there's a huge misunderstanding that makes you feel like, well, Notre Dame, beat Georgia, so they've got to be great. But we're having the same conversations with people on media sources that are saying then, a few minutes later, how the SEC has fallen and are just not as good as they was. This is not the typical Georgia team that we're used to seeing. Offensive line play is usually always really good. And also, we're going to talk about that. We want to talk about Notre Dame, Penn State matchup. Why is Notre Dame getting the edge? Why is it just being looked over that people have said that the SEC is not as good as it was this year as it has been because of the portal? Players are not being able to be stockpiled by Georgia, Alabama's, South Carolina's, Tennessee's, and they can't just run out another group of 5 stars over there on the side. So y'all hit the comment over here. I'll try to make sure all that's working too. I'll keep my eye on that. So, I mean, it can't be both ways. We can't have this to where the SEC is down, but then we're going to prop up Notre Dame for beating Georgia. So either Notre Dame's really good because they beat the SEC champs, or it's the other story that the SEC is not really that good this year, and Georgia really didn't look that good against a team that y'all are saying is that the league is down, and this is the champion of that league. I can't get that mindset. I don't get it at all. So let's start off here with right off from the start. Hey, if you like the video and stuff, I appreciate it. Just hit the thumbs right there hit the like there on the YouTube, and subscribe if you'd like to. And it just lets you know when we go live. I'm usually on here Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. This week won't be a Thursday because of the game. Thursday night, I'm sure I'll make a post or something about scores, and may chat on our Facebook page. We have a lot of people over there chatting. Got a big community over there. So, Texas, Ohio State. Looks like Ohio State's going to be favored by about 5.5 or 6 points, something like that. Now, combined score for Tennessee and Oregon of 83 points, won by an average of over 3 touchdowns. That could be detrimental. Now, Texas, they have a 2 overtime win, of course, against Arizona State, and their average win by points here showed to be 36 points a game, only allowing 15 points a game. Now, they've played 3 times. Texas is 2-1. In 2008, Texas won 24-21 in the Fiesta Bowl with 400 yards passing by Colt McCoy. Ohio State, top defense. They're playing very good, and it seems like they found their self. And I think that was the question about Ohio State from the beginning of the year. You got so many great players, and heads up, and shout out, Coach Saban for, excuse my language, but Tyler Siskey. I'm going to quote him, and I've quoted this saying before. Siskey said, "Hats off to Nick Saban for taking a room full of assholes and getting them all to play and march in the same direction." And that is what I have always. I wouldn't know he's a Nick Saban fan. I mean, he's an LSU guy. Now he's appreciative for what he's done. Very much appreciate that, but he has a way with people to be able to talk to these guys and to all marching by the same drum, and that's how you get it done. Now, Ohio State, like we said, the top defense. I found out through some research, actually on NCAA.com, Bama wound up having one of the number one defenses and giving up only 190 yards average a game. Ohio State had 532 yards, 3.8 yards per play, 266 yards a game average giving up. They were number 18, and they were tied with Bama for scoring defense, averaging 19 points a game given up. Now, these are the things. We're just laying out some stats here. Maybe everybody don't know the stats, and that's why you come by here to hang out. And we'll give a few stats. I'm going to make a case, and then I'm going to tell you who I think wins these games based on injuries and those type things that have huge effects in these games. We're going to finish with that. Texas, they're 42nd in scoring defense, averaging 27.5 to give up per game. They're 37th in scoring defense, averaging 2 rushing touchdowns on 145 yards a game. Now, defensively, schematically, I'm not a defensive or offensive coordinator or a college coach, but I do understand the game and watched it a long time. And it seems like if Texas could run probably a too high safety type look, that may be able to slow down some of these opportunities from Ibuka and Smith. I don't know, man. What are you supposed to do with a guy like that? What do you do with him? I've heard somebody today compare him to a Julio Jones type guy. So you just try to do the best you can and create opportunities for your defense to. He's going to make catches, man. He's just going to catch the ball. We're talking about Smith at Ohio State. So you have to be able to tackle him when he catches the ball. They can't have a bunch of yards after catch, okay? Let's just put that up right now. Jeff says if Bozo calls the plays, we lose, and we've lost a couple of players to the portal, but that didn't play very much, so they were third stringers, yeah. I've seen Georgia's lost quite a few players yesterday, I know. So special teams. Those are things that some people look over, and there just has to be a matter of fact that you've got to be able to pay attention to all the details. I asked Georgia. I mean, it kind of lost them the game. They just give up a score before half from turning the ball over, and then they give up a touchdown to start the third. Terrible. Offensive line for Texas, they have to be able to slow. Their footwork is not the fastest that you've ever seen. Just watching them through the year, I think that's some of their. I think that's some of their, maybe part of their weakness. Now, defensive wise, their ends are very fast. They do move down the line very quickly. They track the ball. They're usually pretty well studied in plays. The safeties can be late getting over in the single zone stuff, which will be a big problem. That'll be a bad problem to have when Smith and Ibuka's out there in the field. Now, the tackles can be slow to pull when you're watching guards and tackles pull for Texas offensively. Defensively, the nose tackle plays good. He's fast in the middle. Seems to be able to beat guys a lot, up front in those one-on-one matchups with the centers. Now, can their wide receivers get open? It's going to be a huge point for Texas. Can they get open? Linebackers have a good range. They can play zone. But can they be able to play man, bro? I mean, it's very, very tough. Jeff says if Texas runs cover two, that will leave the middle open the running backs and the slant plays. Yes. So the linebackers has to be able to do their job. And defensively, Texas is going to have to you don't have to play as much zone right out because Howard's probably not going to run the ball. So that's not much of a concern. He's going to stand back there and throw it. He's going to stand back there and hand it off. So there has to be times when, you're playing a 3-4 front. You have 3 down linemen. You have your 2 outside guys. And depending on the lineage and how they line up in formation and stuff for Ohio State, I don't know if Texas can line up and play man. I don't know. Like I said, that too high will, be able to relieve some of that and, letting a guy like Smith just get off down the field. Because when he catches the ball, they're going to have to be able to contest those. And, man, this guy, you're going to have to climb a ladder to get up there and try to contest the catches from him. So what do? What's the whole – you got to be able to tackle him to the ground when he catches the darn ball. Texas should be able to run in the middle because Ohio State only plays with 2 linebackers, what Jeff says, and they know all as the defensive coaches play man-to-man with Caleb Downs out there on the outside. Not too many people get up. Yeah, and Downs, if you notice, they've played him down a lot. If you noticed that they've played him down a lot on the line of scrimmage. He's playing like another linebacker, really, to me. Now, Ohio State, eye test from the last couple of games, and what I said to open the show, we're talking about Ohio State finding their identity and figuring out who they are. I think it took them a while to do that, and that's what a team has to have. They have to have an identity, and I think Ohio State has found. I think they found that identity. Their defense is playing fast right now. Howard is sometimes to be scared to push the ball up the field, it seems. They can't play that way. They can't play scared. There can't be a hesitation. It's win or go home. And Texas defensive front, they're pretty good, man. I think they're as good as Tennessee's front, and this game is not in Ohio. This game is going to be out there in Texas. Weather's not going to be a factor at all. So Texas, man, they've got to be able to get home. Okay, they do. They have to be able to hit their marks and be able to line up, play the gaps, and find Henderson and find Junkins. Now, C-gap and wider play calls are working. That's what's been working for Ohio State. They've just kind of run the ball inside or out, okay? And Smith, number 4, we're talking about, he's just, wow, he's for real. He's a great player. Linebacker 33, Sawyer, is big-time trouble for them. He is big-time trouble. And let's see here. Where's my note? So those are just some kind of stats and kind of how things can look around schematically and those kind of things. Now, Texas has to stay their course, and they're going to have to weather that storm for the first quarter. We've seen what's happened for, the first quarter Ohio State's been playing football. It's just been an anomaly. They have just been smoking people. They're up 3 touchdowns at half on Tennessee. They're up 6 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns at the half on Oregon. Don't freak out, if you kick them the ball and they go down in 6 plays and score. You got to know that you're playing football as well as them. And I've given this speech to guys, too, when they were playing. I was playing for me or something. You just can't. Kids just kind of panic too much sometimes. And I'm sure that these are college players. These are young men. They've played a lot of football. And they've been down in games. But you can't just not go out and continue to battle, okay, just because you get down and score. Texas has to hold on to that idea. They have to. It's prevalent. They hold that idea. Now, if you get down, just don't freak out. You play to win. Don't just play not to lose. That's not how you play football. They must win. Texas must win this line up front. They're going to have to win some of this offense battle because the key to me is them being able to run the ball. You got to be able to keep Ohio State honest. You got to make downs at least thinking some percentage-wise that they're going to run the ball because you have to get some of these guys open. Now, their receiving core has done pretty good this year from Worthy and even Bond's made a little bit he's made some plays for them this year too. So you can count on that. But that's just a must-win for them. They're going to have to run the ball. Now, here's the positive thing, and then we'll go to Ohio State, and then we'll go to the next game. We ain't going to be on here very long. Texas has been in back-to-back semifinals. This football team, not all, but a lot of them, has played a lot of football. They have. They played a lot of football. So you have to be able to take some pride in that. There has to be a little bit of thought carried into the game, and, you want to be, have a little swagger to you. I mean, you don't want to be cocky and just be, silly, but you need to be able to pay attention to the game and know that if you just get behind, it's not the end of the world, and it's, it's just not all going away, and that's just the end of it. And, well, we're beat, okay? They've played in back-to-back semifinal games. That has to be worth something for them to think, this is us. Here we are again. We have a shot just like we had last year, and we have to make the most of this opportunity. And you can't just, run from competition. And Sark's a good coach. He's got a good team. He's built them up. And they're back again in the same opportunity that they was last year, which is that's kind of what you want to do, right? I mean, you want to be able to play for these championships, have a chance to have a shot at go for one, and they're there. Now, Ohio State has to start fast to keep Sark off balance. You want to see Sark even run a trick play, probably in the first quarter, because when you start running those trick plays, man, that means you're panicking a little bit. And that's what Ohio State's defense can create. Because they're guys like I just talked about. They're fast up front, man. They got good football players. Okay? So they got to keep pressure on yours to make him know that they're there. We've come to play wide open. Just come out and play with your hair on fire. Don't second guess yourself. And if yours gets hot, they can hit some of those quick plays on Ohio State and they can score. I don't think this is going to be a skunking. I don't. Not at all. But Ohio State, you know who your guys are. You found your identity. You know you can run the ball. And Smith is that guy. He is him. Man, he's got 2 more years. I can't wait to see him play more. So Ohio State, run some twist up front, keep the offensive line at Texas guessing, and yours will mess it up. I'm just saying that just seems kind of how it's going to be. So Ohio State needs to throw the ball so they can run it. Most time teams just, prevalent in the schematics of football, period. You're going to, run the ball so you can throw it. I don't think it has to be that way for them. I don't. Now, as far as picking to win, Cotton Bowl, let's see here. I hadn't even wrote a score down. I'm going to write it right here, right at the bottom of the page. Texas, Ohio State. What kind of scores do we got? Let's go, people. Get up here on the comment section and tell us what your scores are. What kind of scores do you have, and what do you think is going to be great? I'm going to go, let's see. Ohio State 31, Texas 24. Got it. You heard it here first. Put it in the comment section here. So, Ohio State, just to keep a receipt. 31, Texas 24. Texas wins because it's a home game for them. No, I don't care if they're playing at Texas Stadium. So to back up my smack talk, I've given evidence, and I've told you their players. Broke it all down for you. Give you some reasons. Told you about some of their players. And you know what, this time of year, sorry about that. Everybody has, players hurt. Everybody has players out. 31-24 like Ohio State because I just don't think Texas can match up. I'm not sure if I don't think Texas is going to be able to run the ball well enough to score enough. That's just it. I mean, basically just boil it all down and put it in a bag of seed rations. I just think that's pretty simple. I think that's pretty cut and dry. I don't think Texas can run the ball well enough to beat Ohio State. Now, let's go over here to Penn State and Notre Dame. Coach Franklin has done a good job there, and he's been waiting for these opportunities to play. And he, Penn State, just him in general, pretty much. Penn State wins the games that they're supposed to win, and it don't seem like they lose the games that they're supposed to win. Does that make sense? I mean, if they're supposed to win the game, that just seems like they do. Now, Notre Dame is favored in this game. I think what's the spread on that? 1.5 or something. So here's the eye test for Penn State. Penn State eye test, their offensive line, they move smoothly together, and just to be able to run the ball from the 2 all the way out to the 8, or from the 1 to the 7. They seem to be able to get it done. And with their tight end, their star, he is somebody that they're going to have to keep an eye on. So they're going to have to be able to run this ball. Aller, he's a good quarterback. He is. And like I said, tight end, he's a good player too. So they don't get caught out of position a lot. So you got to stay in your positions. Don't get funky penalties and stuff. Because versus Ohio State, maybe they'll be able to get to Leonard, okay? Because if you go back and watch that game, it's 17-13, Ohio State going into the fourth quarter. Talking about Penn State, they had a chance at the end of the game to beat Ohio State. They were one play away from winning the game against Ohio State. Just go back and watch the last 5 minutes of the game, and Penn State had a shot, man. I didn't like the play call down there at the end zone. He tried to force the ball down there in the end zone, and I didn't like that call at all. And I think they played not to lose in that particularly in that front. Jeff says if Notre Dame can knock out Aller, they win. Penn State doesn't have a backup if the Penn State can connect with their tight end. Yeah, he's a good player for sure. So the thing with we'll say injuries up front. Here's just the ones that I know about. Penn State Defensive Player of the Year, Abdul Carter. He's questionable. He may not play in this game. That's huge. If Carter don't play, man, I don't know that it kind of puts a wrench in everything that I'm trying to sell here. He may not play. And Love at Notre Dame, he's got on a knee brace. And guys, running backs with knee braces. Are they going to, can he run and cut like he's supposed to? And when you see these guys tear off up the sideline and they, have to stammer step to try to jump cut and jump back inside, or they hit the hole and they're jumping guys, cutting back and forth, in the hole to, jump inside or out to kick up the sideline and go. Well, his knee trouble. So, Big Ten Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year out. Carter could possibly not play, and Love's going to have on a knee brace. Saw him at practice with a knee brace on. Now, Penn State, here's what they need to do. They've got to make some explosive plays. Listen, outside the hash. I think Penn State controls the ball well enough to where they can play inside the hash marks, okay? They can play inside the hash. It's not, it's not a terrible thing that they just struggle with what they're going to be able to do. Two tailbacks, it's tight end. Taylor Warren is good. Which I'm not a coach again. I've seen one on TV. I've played one for younger groups of guys around here. Get in the ball outside the hash. Throw him some back shoulder throws a little bit in this game to try to, slow down Notre Dame's defense, because their defensive front, they look pretty good. Okay. So both their backs, we already know they both have over 1,000 yards. Okay. We know that. But for Allen and Singleton, Penn State, just be who you are. Don't try to reinvent the wheel now. This team played close with Ohio State. And Ohio State's they just whacked the number one team in the country by 5 touchdowns. So don't try to, go out there and figure out how to do something different or be weird or be funky. I did make a suggestion to throw to Warren outside the hash, but I don't mean make it some big game-changing habit, but enough to where, their defense coach, Golden, he's been around a long time. Penn State, y'all better draw up something good on offense. Because Golden, dude, he's been around, man. He's been coaching for like 20, 30 years. He's been head coach at several different schools. He's, so I'm going to show him a few different things, probably not real quick, but I hope we can hold on with what we are. You got 2 tailbacks that's run for 1,000 yards. I'm going to try to kind of hold on to that and play between the hash marks. But they're not just going to be able to play in a phone booth all night with Notre Dame. They're just not going to be able to. Notre Dame needs to just be what you've been being. I think that's been the success for Notre Dame. We've talked about identity with these other teams. I think everybody kind of knows who they are. If you hadn't figured it out by now in this part of the season, you're probably not going to. Notre Dame figured out who they were pretty quick. Okay, Leonard can move. He can move up the field as a quarterback. You can keep the pass plays simple. Stay away from the Stay away from trick plays. I know I've brought that up a few times. I think Notre Dame, when you get into trick plays, that shows that you're worried and that you don't really have a plan, okay? So, those are things they need to do. Now, Notre Dame eye test, their defensive line, they do make good reads to the ball. I noticed that early and going back and watching the film on them. Early in the first quarter, 3rd and 2 against Georgia, 10-yard line, Georgia fumbles, and Leonard finds the open guy. So first, big play, and this kid gets in the way, and we're not trying to break down Georgia-Notre Dame game. But the first big play that Georgia has, they're 0-0, and Georgia has to kick 3 because the ref, notice how I say this, the ref stumbled into the green and come back out, and the kid had half his foot on the white. The ref was running the white line. He was way out of position. I can't believe he flagged that. He should have went back to the kid and said, sorry I run into you there. I got turned around, but you're a little close on the sideline. Let's make sure you stay back, out of the white. Yes, sir. You don't take a big play off the board. That just looks fishy, dude. Now, Notre Dame took care of business, and that penalty had nothing to do with it, so, it is what it is. Georgia, their offensive line, Notre Dame defensive line is good. So which is it? This Georgia offensive line, are they pretty good? Do they have like what we started the show off with? We keep hearing this, and we hear it and we hear it. Well, SEC is not very good this year, man. I think they're kind of down. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think so too. Jeff says if Penn State can rush Leonard, he's not a great scrambler. I don't know, man. I don't know, Jeff. I think he's a good enough scrambler. Does that make sense? I won't use the word good. I mean, he's not Johnny Manziel by no means, but I think he's good enough. I do. Now, the deal with that chances of Georgia's offensive line being good, we can answer that question right up front. No. So if Georgia's offensive line is not real good, then does that mean that Notre Dame's defensive line is real good because they made plays against Georgia? No. I don't think it is. Okay, I just don't. So we went through some injuries here. Now, here's the thing. Why are people so, pumped up on Notre Dame? I think it's because it's a good story. I think it's what people want to hear. Now, based on they pushed Georgia around up front, okay, and then 5 minutes later, the same people would say that the portal has given more equality in the SEC, can't hold 5-star linemen like they could before. So it's got to be one or the other. So it's either Notre Dame's great, or if they've pushed around a Georgia offensive line that's, just kind of average. So if they was that team, if Notre Dame is that team, they're the ones, then why didn't they jump out on these guys earlier? And their defense capitalized on the mistakes of Georgia, and that was basically their game plan. So Orange Bowl, Notre Dame, Penn State. I just don't see. I don't think Notre Dame's that good. I just don't, and we can have difference of opinion about it, and that's what makes this all great. But I can't just sit up here and say I'm sold on Notre Dame's on their front. I'm putting this over on the group page, by the way. I just can't. I mean, what makes me think that, any of these teams are as good as anybody else, or I just can't see it. It can't be both. We got to have one or the other, man. We've got to be able to have the idea that these teams here, Notre Dame and Penn State, I think this is Penn State's opportunity. I think that this is a great chance for them. I think this is a good shot for Coach Franklin. Here is what I worry about with them. And I give you what I worried about with Ohio State. And I'm going to give you what I worry about with Penn State, because I'm picking Penn State to win. Sometimes Coach Franklin seems that he needs to reinvent the wheel. That's kind of what he seems like he wants to do sometimes. And I'm fixing to give you a score here. Okay. Penn State 24, Notre Dame 21. Okay. So that's the thing. Coach Franklin, I've seen him too many times do it. It's kind of bothersome. I've seen him do it at Vanderbilt some too. All coaches do it, man. All coaches do this. All coaches do this. Sorry I have sinus trouble, guys. I know like I'm not some super professional podcaster. I'm just a normal guy in here doing locker room sports talk. We're just hanging out in the locker room and talking football. And if we're hanging out in the locker room talking football, my nose is running. I got to rub it. It's just it's winter. The weather sucks. I don't like it. And then I apologize. I just can't. If he don't give this game away, just don't try to reinvent the wheel, Coach Franklin. Don't try to be, again, keep it between the hashes most of the night. I don't think you can win if they play that way all night. I don't think they can just line up and run at them all night with both those backs. And Warren as the tight end. I don't see them being able to do that all night. So, in the end, Coach Franklin has to do what I suggested, and we'll see if those things happen. And if I'm wrong, hey, I'll be the first one to tell you I'm wrong. Warren needs to get on the outside some of the hash, and Penn State needs to try to stretch some of those plays. And you know what? Honestly, I wouldn't be scared to drop back on a play action and tear off with Aller around the end or something. And let him run it a few times, just to make Notre Dame, kind of think about, what they're doing. Just to kind of, go through to figure it out. So that's the playoff games. Those are my scores. I've made a case. I like Ohio State to play Penn State for the national championship. And we could do a review for that one day next week. Probably Sunday. We'll talk about the two teams that won. And we'll come back in here and break it down and give you an idea of where we're at and what we think. And I just really feel like Texas won't be able to find a run game. I think Ohio State's too much up front. And I think their playmakers are, bro, Texas couldn't beat Georgia twice. And Ewers can get them out of a lot of bad, sticky situations, but, man, there's some that he's just not. I know, you're going to say, this guy's crazy. Why is he even doing a stupid show? What's he know? Clown. I just don't think Ewers is elite. I think he's a good quarterback, and he'll probably make a living one day. But, man, what quarterbacks in the college this year is really good? Guys, Shedeur Sanders is probably the best, just mechanically solid, throwing the ball down the field, making good, accurate passes. He's probably the best of the bunch. Are you kidding me? Jaden Daniels this guy, he won the Heisman, okay? And he's at the, Redskins now. He's playing good. I don't think Texas has it. Now, they're about as bad as Georgia. Georgia, you got to be able to run the ball, man. Georgia's going to have to find them a real – and I like Frazier. I don't know if it's the protection. That's part of it too. And if we're just not going to be able to stockpile offensive linemen, then, by God, you just got to do like everybody else and do the best with what you got. And do like the song said, Jeff, just love the one you're with. Ain't that how the song went? Ohio State ain't having, Penn State's not having big trouble with offensive line. They got 2 tailbacks that went over 1,000 yards. So, what's the excuse there? Well, Georgia just can't stockpile. Well, then what is Franklin doing? Well, Alabama they had tailbacks, had 700 to 800 apiece. Penn State had 2 guys for 1,000 apiece. Well, SEC's not so good, Matt. No more. They just can't stockpile. Well, okay, that's how the game is now. So I guess you're going to have to do the best of what you got. And teach them the scheme that you're playing and try to work your scheme around the players that you have. And stop daydreaming, sitting over in the corner, twiddling your freaking thumbs, dreaming about Nick Saban winning 6 national championships. That's over. They ain't no coach. Kirby's not going to win 4 more. It's not going to happen. He had his chance this year. He had a shot this year to come back in it this year. And he didn't get the guys in the offseason. They didn't get developed right. And they had a lot of trouble off school grounds. A lot of trouble. That's on Kirby. It's on the head coach. And I'm holding them up high again. Sorry, Georgia fans. It's not because I'm just a Bama fan. I'm a Georgia fan, too. I root for them every time they play. They won the conference that we talk about the most. Now, we'll talk about some Oregon here or Ohio State, and teams like that and stuff. But mostly, you see back here, we had the signs. We're going to talk about Auburn and Georgia and Alabama. Those are the main 3, and the rest fall in there, Ole Miss, LSU, and whatnot. Georgia, you're the flag carrier now, bro. I don't want to hear it no more. I mean, what other excuses can we make? I mean, what else can you say? What else can be let on? It just is what it is. You have to deal with the players that you got and stop making excuses. Nobody's going to just be able to just stockpile huge amounts. You're going to be able to have, good second teams. And I'm not going to hold Bama to the same standards as I hold Kirby. You just stop that. Why would you do that? Kalen DeBoer it's his first year. I would hold Freeze in his first year a little bit higher, I would think, wouldn't you, to a standard than DeBoer. Freeze has been in this conference before. He knows the kids. He played ball over at Mississippi, tried to play baseball or something happened and he didn't make the team. He's from around here. He knows how to relate to kids. In his first year, he comes in and wins 6 games. So, okay, we'll give him a pass. Then the next year, he comes back and he wins 5. He's got to be held higher than DeBoer. Same as Kirby. It shouldn't be the same. Kirby freaking played at Georgia. He should be able to sit down in a living room and be able to sell to a kid to come play there. Georgia is the flag carriers of the SEC now. Will they win it next year? I don't know. But the reason I'm not pounding on Alabama anymore, and that's not what we're here, the topic is the semifinal games. But my point is I'm not going to pound on DeBoer. It's his first year, period. And he's figuring out in the SEC, you know what? Whether you like it or not, Georgia and Auburn fans, every team gives Bama their best shot because they want to be the team that beat Bama. Because it ain't been that long ago. Saban's still around. He's still around on campus. He's not dead. And it's going to be that way probably for a while. And DeBoer has not figured out, Bama fans, this is some of his problem. They won the games. The good home games they had, but you see where they struggled? Where'd they struggle? On the road. Vanderbilt. Oklahoma. Tennessee. There's some bad calls in that game, man. I'm not going to make excuses, but it's hard to win at Tennessee, especially Bama. And it's hard for Tennessee to win at Alabama. So that's my point. We're holding these teams to this standard. And Bama's standard is, by God, you win 10. Well, by God, the standard, when the time that the standard was written, guys, was a mission statement of Nick Saban come in when he started there. And he changed the mission statement there immediately. I read his book. Go read his book. It's good. It's like a business. He said, when I go to get a plane, go to Delta Airlines, they have a mission statement. We're going to have one here. And you can read it. It's in the book. He has some nice little paragraph. When that was written, that's the standard that he set. He's gone. The league is different. Georgia, we can't make excuses anymore that we just can't stockpile players, and that's why it's just over. Well, it's 1 year. How is a run of the SEC over because they didn't perform fairly well? And some SEC teams did win. We had bowl game teams that did win. It's not a clean sweep. And I don't think Texas beats Ohio State. So there's another Big Ten beating an SEC team. But that don't mean it's just dead. It's gone. It's 1 year. All you people keep up with football. ACC, Big 12, Big 10, it's spotty here and there through the history of 20 years of college football, the past 20. So if you're going to hold them guys up here, these coaches, then you as fans have to understand your expectations. You're expecting things that existed in another time. It's like a whole nother dimension now. It's a whole nother realm. You can't go back to that. You can't go back to being able to just keep that depth. So what do? You do what these 4 teams have done. You get some guys in the portal to fill up some places here or there. They can come in and play a position or two, defensive end, maybe a linebacker. Maybe get you a quarterback if luck has you have good luck. Maybe you get your receiver to add to the room of some, you've already got 4 or 5 good receivers. And you keep the receivers that are there paid. Your high school recruits, you still got to recruit high school players. You keep them, you pay them, you keep them, and you develop them. Don't let them transfer. Pay the guys and keep them there if they're worth keeping. Now, if they're second-team guys, you probably don't want to pay a second-team guy. Jeff says that bring in the Birds. I think they had games tonight. Yours left, yes. You know what, too? This is the first time a quarterback that transferred from one school to the other, he's going to play his old team in the playoffs. I mean, Ewers was at Ohio State. Georgia's got a running back in the portal, yeah. Bear averaged 9 and 10 wins every year playing 10 or 11 games. Yeah. Well, yeah, Bear got to do the same thing. Bear could keep talent there because they're a good program. He was a good coach. And you got to think, when he came in 57, Alabama had already won their first title 30 years before that. They played Washington's and, in Rose Bowls and stuff and had, beat them, years before. So that's about enough for tonight. I didn't want to stay on real long, 20, 30 minutes. I think that'd be enough time. Yeah, we're 50 minutes in, gosh. Well, I just want to make a point there at the end that the standard everybody's looking for in the conference, Georgia, you're the flag toters of the SEC. Fans, stop. You can't just be fanatics all the time. It's not the same anymore. And it's never, you've already let this out of the box. You cannot cram all this back into the box and just say, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. And is it flawed? Yes. But there's going to be some fixing to it. There's going to be some adjustments. They're going to fix the portal next year. We're going to play another 12-team playoff in 26. Well, 25 now. 26 will be a 16-team playoff. And if you're fired up about that, you're crazy. That's just not me. That's not for me. Just not. So anyway, we appreciate you, Jeff. Thank you, sir. Glad you could come by and hang out. So there's your winners for the day. And let me type this in the comments too while I got it up here. 31-24. Okay. Texas 24. So there. You can call me out on it, Jeff. It's in the comment section and go back on this video. Pull up the comments, and I got it wrote down. With the schedule and the conference game, the SEC teams are going to be lucky to win. Well, no. Well, we play 8. Because you have to play 8 conference games. And we had 8 teams in the top 25. There's just not real great quarterback play. And that's just basically about it. There just really hasn't been. Now, I think there's a group coming. That Underwood kid is fire at Michigan. And Keelan Russell from Duncanville is money. I think these 2 guys are the new era of college football. I do. And I think that I've already said this once about Georgia. I think some of their ways, and me and Birds, he come in, we talked about it. They are they're kind of stuck in some old ways. There's some kind of old-fashionedness to Georgia that he's going to have to work through. They got to work through some of that. Now, the Big Ten, talking about playing 9, they do play 9 games, but they only have 4 teams in the top 25. So, you just have to play your schedule. You better win 10. Oh, yeah, where is he? He wound up going to, did he come up there to play? Let's see. Played it. Yeah, Ohio State. Yeah, Julian saying Gatorade. Where is he from? Okay. Castlebad, California. I thought he was from Nevada or something. 5-star, number 20 quarterback in the nation. You see him hooking up with old Smith. It's going to be something else. All right, y'all enjoy the games Thursday. If you're here in northeast Alabama or northwest Georgia, probably Friday, probably Thursday, you may want to grab you a couple of cans of soup. You may want to grab you a flashlight or some candles. I don't know. And if you got a gas fireplace, you'll be okay. I don't think it's going to get that bad. I think we're going to miss a little bit on the temperature. I think Friday evening we may have some ice. Friday late or Saturday morning maybe. May have some slick spots. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. So, all right. Thank you, guys. Gosh, man, I appreciate it. This is the first OBS run. I know things look a little bit different. On the screen, you can see, like, I can turn things on and off, the camera and the logo. I've had to set all, and I've done this before, and I wonder if that intro, can y'all hear that? See, I can't hear it. I got to go back and fix that. I don't know if you can hear that or not. See, I can turn this on and off too. Yeah, make sure you find me over here on Twitter if you're watching, at BigMatt1977. It's 2 G's. So I appreciate you guys. Love you. Great, man. Y'all have a safe day tomorrow, Thursday. And make some sausage balls and have a good time. Enjoy time with your family Thursday, Friday for the games. Going to be some funky weather, so it'll be a good time to be in and stay warm. So God bless.